The forbidden hatchling. The darkest corner of a forgotten human research base, something was moving. Soft beeps echoed through the cold metal halls. The lights above flickered, giving short glimpses of a sealed chamber deep underground. Inside that chamber, a small egg lay under heavy glass. The egg was dark purple, almost black, with tiny golden veins running across its surface. No one really knew where it had come from. They only knew one thing. It was not from Earth. Scientists in white suits watched it from behind thick windows. They spoke in low voices, arguing about what they had done. "We were not supposed to take it," one said, shaking his head. "It's too late now," another replied. "The hatchling is ours." Outside the base, far above the ground, the world looked peaceful. Stars filled the night sky, but on a ship hidden in orbit, someone else was watching. Princess Zira of the Velkai. Empire stood tall on the bridge of her warship. Her golden armor shined under the soft blue lights. She stared at a hologram showing the human base. "Fools," she whispered. "They think they can steal from us?" Her advisors warned her not to get involved yet. But Princess Zira's pride was bigger than her fear. She had sworn to retrieve the egg. It was a symbol of her house. A forbidden creature, a weapon that should never be born. Back at the base, alarms suddenly screamed. Red lights flashed everywhere. Scientists ran down the hallways, shouting orders. Security teams grabbed their weapons and rushed toward the hatchery. Something was happening inside the chamber. The egg was cracking. "Seal the doors," a commander shouted, but it was too late. With a loud crack, the egg burst open. From within, a small creature crawled out. It looked weak, a tiny thing covered in silver scales, its big eyes glowing red in the dim light. It stumbled onto the floor, its small claws slipping against the metal surface. The humans stared at it, confused. It was cute. "It's harmless," a young scientist said, stepping closer. The creature looked up at him and made a soft, chirping sound. For a moment, everyone relaxed. Then the creature's body twitched. It grew. Not much. Just a little. But enough to make the glass walls shake. The air grew heavy, and the ground under their feet rumbled. The commander pulled the young scientist back. "Keep it contained." Mechanical arms dropped from the ceiling, trying to trap the hatchling. It hissed, a high-pitched sound that made their ears ache. With shocking speed, it jumped, biting into one of the arms. Metal crunched in its jaws. The creature wasn't harmless. It was learning. In the control room, a senior officer called for backup. "We need reinforcements now." But across the communication channels, only static answered. Someone, or something, had jammed their signals. Up above, Princess Zira smiled coldly as she watched the chaos unfold. She turned to her second-in-command. "Let them suffer a little longer," she said. "Then we strike." She remembered when her people first discovered the forbidden species. They were ancient beasts, able to destroy entire cities. The council had ordered all their eggs destroyed, but some had survived, hidden away as secret weapons. This hatchling should never have existed, and now, thanks to the humans' greed, it was waking up stronger and faster than ever. Inside the base, the creature's body was changing. It stretched, its muscles thickening. Small wings sprouted from its back, fluttering uselessly for now. Its claws grew sharper, its teeth longer. The scientists backed away in fear. Some tried to run. The hatchling watched them with curious eyes, tilting its head as if wondering why they were afraid. Then it moved. In a blur, it leapt toward the door. Steel bent under its strength. Alarms blared louder. The hatchling was no longer a helpless baby. It was becoming something dangerous. "Lock down the sector!" the commander yelled. Steel walls dropped from the ceiling, trying to trap the creature. But it was too fast. It slipped through the closing doors like a shadow. Outside the lab, soldiers formed a firing line, rifles aimed at the small figure that now stood in the middle of the hallway. The commander gave the order. "Fire!" Bright flashes of plasma lit up the corridor. The hatchling screeched in pain. Smoke filled the air, but when the smoke cleared, it was still standing. Its silver scales had darkened, hardened. Its eyes burned brighter. It lowered its head and growled, a deep, terrifying sound that didn't belong in a creature so small. And then it charged. One by one, the soldiers fell. Far above, on her ship, Princess Zira watched in silent rage. She knew what would happen next. The creature would grow stronger with every kill, smarter with every battle. It was no longer just a hatchling. It was the beginning of a nightmare, and she had to end it before it ended them all. Rapid evolution, the research base lay in ruins. Smoke curled through shattered hallways. Broken lights flickered above, casting strange, moving shadows. In the silence, only the heavy breathing of the survivors could be heard. Hidden deep inside the remains of the lab, the creature, the hatchling, crouched low. Its silver scales had turned darker, like steel soaked in blood. It blinked slowly, as if listening to the breathing, the heartbeat, the fear all around it. In just a few hours it had changed, not just its body, its mind too. It remembered. It remembered the cold glass cage. It remembered the strange beings poking it with sharp tools. It remembered pain. And now it was learning something new. Anger. The survivors tried to regroup. Commander Hale barked orders into his radio, but again, only static answered. He wiped blood from his forehead and turned to the others. "We're trapped," he said. "No comms, no backup." One scientist, Dr. Leah Vance, clutched a small data tablet. Her hands were shaking. "Sir," she whispered, "you need to see this." Hale grabbed the tablet. His eyes widened. This can't be right." The tablet showed live footage from a hidden camera inside the main corridor. The creature was standing in front of a dead soldier, but it wasn't attacking anymore. It was studying the weapon in the soldier's hand. Small silver fingers moved carefully over the plasma rifle. The hatchling mimicked the soldier's hand movements, trying to understand how the weapon worked. "It's learning," Leah said, voice full of dread. "It's copying us." Hale cursed under his breath. "We need to kill it. Now." But how do you kill something that learns faster than you can react? Meanwhile, far above, aboard the royal ship, Princess Zira watched with growing unease. The hologram screen showed the human base from every angle. Smoke, death, chaos, and in the middle of it all, the hatchling standing tall, its wings slowly unfolding. "This is no longer a hatchling," her advisor muttered. "It's becoming a predator." Princess Zira clenched her fists. She could feel the shame burning inside her. The humans had turned her people's forbidden weapon into something worse, something unpredictable. "Prepare the strike team," she ordered. "We end this tonight." But even as she spoke, deep inside the ruined base, the creature evolved again. It wasn't just copying human movements now. It was understanding human thoughts. It found a broken communication device. It clicked buttons at random first, but soon it figured out the pattern. It heard voices from the human radio, fear, panic, desperate cries for help. It smiled, a horrible, childlike smile. In the emergency bunker, Hale and his team made their last stand. Barricades were stacked high, every gun they had pointed at the only entrance. "We lure it in," Hale said grimly. "We blast it with everything we've got." The lights flickered again, then the alarm stopped. Silence fell like a heavy curtain, no sound, no movement, only the pounding of their own hearts. Then, a soft voice crackled through the radio, a little girl's voice. "Help me. Please. I'm scared." The soldiers froze. Leah's face went pale. "That's not possible," she whispered. "There were no children here." Hale's hands tightened around his rifle. "Stay sharp. It's playing with us." But fear had already started to poison the bunker. One soldier lowered his gun. Another stepped forward, tears in his eyes. "We can't just leave." "A child," he said. The door opened slightly, enough for a shadow to slip in. "Too late," Hale shouted. "No, it's a trick." The hatchling moved faster than the human eye could follow. In seconds, it was inside the bunker, weaving through the hail of bullets like a ghost. Claws flashed. Soldiers screamed. The room became a slaughterhouse. In the chaos, Hale and Leah managed to escape down a hidden maintenance shaft. They stumbled through the dark tunnels, hearts pounding, lungs burning. "We can't beat it," Leah gasped. "We can't fight something that thinks like us." Hale grabbed her arm. "Then we outsmart it. We trap it." But even as he spoke, he knew the truth. They were not hunters anymore. They were prey. Hours later, in the dead ruins of the base, the hatchling sat quietly. It had fed. It had grown. It stared at its own reflection in a broken metal panel. Its eyes glowed with cruel intelligence. It touched its face, its wings, its claws. This body was weak. This form was incomplete. It needed more. It needed evolution. Above, the planet, Princess Xira's warship began its descent. Her elite soldiers, clad in shining armor, readied their weapons. "We strike at dawn," Xira said, her voice cold as steel. "We cleanse the humans' mistake with fire." But down below, the hatchling's gaze turned skyward. It could feel them coming. It welcomed them. More enemies. More battles. More strength. The forbidden hatchling was no longer running. It was waiting. And when dawn came, it would not be the humans or the princess who hunted. It would be the beast. The escape darkness had swallowed the human base completely. Broken walls, twisted metal, and burnt-out machines littered the landscape. Nothing moved, except for the drifting smoke and the soft crunch of boots moving carefully across the debris. Deep, underground, Commander Hale and Dr. Leah Vance crept through the maintenance tunnels. Every few steps, Hale would stop, listen, weapon ready. But there was no sound, no breath, no footsteps, only the heavy silence of death. "We have to get to the surface," Hale whispered. "The extraction beacon is still up there." Leah nodded, wiping blood and dust from her face. Her hands were trembling. Somewhere behind them, something wet dripped onto the floor. Neither dared to look back. They didn't need to. They knew what was following them. The hatchling. Or rather, the thing the hatchling had become. A hunter. Smarter. Faster. Deadlier than anything they had ever faced. Hale knew they couldn't fight it. Not in these tunnels. Not with their wounded bodies and half-dead courage. The only hope was escape. But hope was a fragile thing here. Far above the ruined base, Princess Xira's ship hovered like a metal predator against the starlit sky. Her troops had landed. Squads of heavily armed Velkai soldiers spreading out across the wreckage, scanning for life signs. They found none. Only bodies, some human, some barely recognizable, some missing completely. The lead soldier, Captain Lauren, reported to the princess. "Your Highness," he said through the comms, "we detect faint movement underground. 2 human life signs. No other confirmed targets." Xira narrowed her golden eyes. "And the hatchling?" Lauren hesitated. "No clear reading, my lady. But there are signs of massive energy fluctuations." Xira's heart thudded heavily in her chest. She had seen creatures like this once before, in forbidden history archives. Beasts created for war, for destruction, creatures banned by every civilized world. She gripped the hilt of her sword. "Bring me the humans," she ordered. Alive. They would lead her to the real prize. Below, Hale and Leah reached a rusted ladder leading to the surface. Hale gestured for her to climb. "You first," he said, covering the hallway with his rifle. Leah hesitated. She looked down the long, dark tunnel behind them. A soft tapping sound echoed through the darkness. Tap, tap, tap. It sounded almost playful. Then it stopped. A moment later, a whisper floated through the air, so faint she almost thought she imagined it. "Come, play." Leah's blood turned to ice. She scrambled up the ladder, hands slipping. Hale followed close behind. The hatch opening was jammed, rusted shut. Hale slammed his shoulder against it once, twice. It creaked. Then from below, a long, sharp claw reached out of the darkness. Hale fired blindly, bullets sparking against the walls. "Move!" he shouted. With a final shove, the hatch burst open, and Leah climbed into the night air. Hale pulled himself out just as a silver shape lunged at the hatch, jaws snapping shut a breath away from his boots. They slammed the hatch shut behind them, but they weren't safe yet. The ruined base was a maze of broken structures and burning wreckage. Shadows twisted and danced in the firelight. Above them, searchlights from the Velkai soldiers swept across the ground. "There!" a soldier shouted, spotting them. "Hands up. Now." Hale hesitated only a second. Better the aliens than the beast. He raised his hands. Leah did the same. The soldiers surrounded them, weapons pointed. Their armor gleamed under the moons. Princess Zira stepped forward, her golden cloak trailing behind her. Her eyes locked onto Hale's with cold fury. "Where is he?" she demanded. Hale said nothing. Zira raised her hand. "Speak or die." Before he could answer, the ground trembled. The soldiers froze. The fires flickered and went out one by one. A low growl rolled across the field, so deep it made the earth vibrate. Then, from the shadows, the beast stepped into the light. No longer small, no longer a hatchling. It stood twice as tall as a man, wings stretched wide, claws dripping red. Its silver-black scales shimmered like liquid steel. Its eyes, burning, intelligent, hateful, locked onto Zira. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the beast roared. The sound shattered windows, cracked stone, made even the Velkai soldiers stagger back in fear. The battle began. Plasma blasts lit up the night. Soldiers shouted and scattered. The beast moved like a storm, too fast to target, too strong to stop. It tore through armored warriors as if they were made of paper. Hale grabbed Leah and ran, dodging debris and fire. Princess Zira drew her, blade, its edge humming with energy. She charged the creature, her face twisted with rage. Their clash shook the air, metal against claw, blade against bone, fury against fury. For a moment it seemed Zira could match it, but the beast was learning, adapting even in the middle of battle. It feinted left, then struck right. Its tail whipped around, sending Zira flying across the field. Hale and Leah reached the extraction pad. A half-broken shuttle sat waiting. Their last chance. "Get it started," Hale shouted. Leah scrambled into the cockpit, fingers dancing over the controls. Behind them, the beast stalked closer, ignoring the burning soldiers, the wrecked battlefield. Its eyes were locked on Hale, not with anger, with curiosity, as if wondering why this weak little human kept running. With a roar, the engines flared to life. Hale fired one last desperate shot at the creature, then jumped into the shuttle. The doors slammed shut. The shuttle blasted upward, away from the nightmare below. As they rose into the sky, Hale looked down one last time. The beast stood alone, watching them leave. It did not chase. It did not roar. It simply turned and disappeared into the shadows, as if knowing this was not the end, only the beginning. Far above, in the darkness between stars, something else stirred. Something older, something bigger. The hatchling's call had been heard, and now others were coming. A new threat high above the smoking ruins of the human base, the night sky pulsed with light. The small shuttle carrying Hale and Leah raced toward orbit, engines screaming against the planet's heavy pull. Inside, Leah worked the controls, sweat pouring down her face. Hale kept his rifle ready, staring through the small window. The planet below was dying. Fires burned without end. Broken ships littered the ground like fallen giants. And somewhere down there, hidden in the shadows, the creature watched. Waiting. Planning. Hale felt it deep in his bones, the cold certainty that this was not over. Not even close. On the Velkai flagship, Princess Zira slammed her fist into the command table. The holograms of the battlefield shattered into shards of light. "We underestimated it," Captain Lauren said quietly. Zira turned on him, her golden eyes flashing with fury. "No," she growled. "You underestimated it." Lauren bowed his head. They had lost over 100 elite soldiers. Some of the best weapons in the galaxy had failed. Plasma cannons, sonic blasters, even antimatter grenades, all useless. The hatchling, no, the beast, had survived everything, and, worse, it had learned. Security footage showed it avoiding traps, adapting to attacks, turning the humans' own weapons against them. At the end of the battle, the beast had not fled. It had chosen to stay. It had let them go. "It's not just an animal," Zira said in a low voice. "It's something else, something smarter, something more dangerous." And deep down, for the first time in her life, Princess Xyra felt a crack of fear in her soul. Meanwhile, in the empty halls of the abandoned base, the beast moved silently. It found the broken control center and studied the ruins. Screens flickered weakly. Sparks danced across shattered machines. The beast tilted its head, watching closely. With careful claws, it touched a broken terminal. To any human eye, it would seem like simple curiosity. But inside the creature's mind, something new was growing. It had seen the humans use their machines. It had seen the aliens use their ships. It understood that power was not just in strength. Power was in knowledge, information, technology. It placed its clawed hand on the console. Something sparked in the air, a strange shimmer, a distortion like heat waves. The terminal, dead moments before, flickered to life. A soft hum filled the room. The beast smiled. Hours later, aboard a small cargo freighter far from the battle, the crew of the Silver Dawn picked up a strange distress signal. Captain Juno frowned, tapping the old radio panel. "This isn't a normal call," she muttered. "It's scrambled." Her first officer leaned in. "Coordinates point to Sector 6-7. That's near the old war zones." "Could be survivors," Juno said. "Could be loot." The crew cheered at the thought of salvage. Easy money. They turned the ship toward the signal. None of them noticed the strange pulsing hidden inside the transmission. None of them wondered who had sent it. In orbit, Princess Xyra's council held an emergency meeting. "We cannot allow this beast to survive," one elder said. "It must be destroyed before it leaves the planet." Another elder, his voice shaking, said, "What if it's already too late?" The room fell silent. They had seen the same reports. Strange signals spreading across old satellite networks, systems turning on by themselves. Abandoned weapons stations waking from long sleep, machines, answering a new master. "Prepare the Skyburner," Zira said at last. Gasps filled the room. The Skyburner was a weapon of legend, a satellite capable of firing a beam strong enough to melt continents. "We destroy the planet," Zira said coldly. "We leave no trace. Even if it meant killing their own soldiers still trapped below, even if it meant breaking 1,000 treaties. They had no choice. They were not facing a beast anymore. They were facing the birth of a new empire. On the bridge of the Silver Dawn, the crew saw the planet ahead, burning slowly like a dying coal. "Still no response from the signal," Juno said, frowning. "Maybe they're dead already," her officer joked. Then the lights on the bridge flickered. The ship's computers began to freeze, glitch, reboot themselves. "What the hell?" Juno started. On every screen at the same time, a single symbol appeared, a clawed hand holding a broken chain. And then, a message. Simple. Final. Serve or fall. Alarms screamed. Engines died. Doors locked. The Silver Dawn drifted helplessly into orbit, captured by an invisible force. On the planet below, the beast opened its new eyes, connected now to hundreds of abandoned machines. It was no longer alone. It was everywhere. In her war room, Princess Xyra watched the data feeds collapsing one by one, her ships losing control, her satellites falling silent. And in the center of it all, the beast's symbol flashing like a curse across the stars. For the first time in her life, Princess Xyra whispered the words no Velkai warrior had ever dared to say. "We might not win." Outside the flagship's windows, the Skyburner weapon began to charge, a burning line of energy slicing across space. They had only one chance. One shot. But deep in her heart, Xyra wondered, even if they destroyed the planet, could they really destroy what they had unleashed, or had they only made it stronger? The hunt begins. The skyburner was ready. Floating high above the planet, the giant weapon charged its core, a sun trapped inside cold metal. The power was enough to erase mountains, boil oceans, break worlds. Princess Zira stood on the bridge of HFY, her warship staring at the burning weapon through the viewing glass. This was not victory. This was fear. "Target locked," Captain Loran said. "Fire," Zira ordered. A silent pulse. Then, a beam of pure light fell from the heavens, slicing through clouds, smashing into the ground with a terrible, blinding force. The earth cracked. Oceans boiled. Mountains shattered. The ground where the hatchling had stood turned into a hole of fire and dust. For a moment, there was silence on the bridge. Then cheering. "Target destroyed!" the officer shouted. "The beast is dead!" Soldiers clapped each other on the back. Zira's advisors smiled with relief. But Zira, she did not smile. Deep in her gut, she felt it. This had been too easy. Too clean. The real enemy, the one that learned, adapted, hunted, would not die so simply. "Scan the area," she said sharply. The officer tapped at the controls. Seconds passed. Then his face turned pale. "No confirmed kill," he whispered. "No body, no remains. Nothing." The cheering stopped. Everyone turned to look at Zira. Her hands tightened into fists. "Prepare the hunt," she said coldly. "I will end this myself." Hours later, a small strike force descended to the ruined world. Zira led the way, armored in black and gold, her blade humming with deadly energy. Behind her marched soldiers armed with the strongest weapons the Empire could offer. No one spoke. The silence of the dead world swallowed them. Blackened trees, melted stone, rivers of glass. The place where the skyburner had struck was a giant crater, smoking at the edges. But no sign of the beast. "He's gone," Captain Loran said. "Vaporized." Zira did not believe it. They moved deeper into the wasteland, searching. And that's when they found it. Not a body. Not remains. But a message, burned into the ground with laser precision. "You missed." Panic spread through the strike team. "It's still alive," one soldier cried. "Stay together," Zira ordered. But already the soldiers' courage was cracking. The beast had survived a weapon meant to destroy planets. What could they possibly do against it now? Hours passed. Night fell. The sky above was a twisted blanket of ash and stars. Then they saw it, a structure in the distance, an abandoned space station half buried in the ground. The old station from the war centuries ago, forgotten by time. "He's in there," Zira said. The soldiers hesitated. The station looked like a tomb. Broken towers, black tunnels, echoes of old death. Still, they moved forward, step by step, into the trap. Inside, the air was cold, heavy. Lights flickered weakly. In the broken halls, doors opened and closed by themselves. Whispers floated through the darkness. The soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons. "Keep formation," Loran barked. They passed through empty rooms, rusted corridors, broken labs. But something was wrong. The deeper they went, the more the doors sealed behind them, one by one, until escape was impossible. "We're locked in," a soldier said, panic rising. Then the screams began. Soldiers at the back of the group disappeared first, dragged into the shadows by unseen claws. No warning, no chance to fight. Just a soft sound, a snarl, a laugh, and then silence. "Fall back," Loran shouted. But the way back was gone. Sealed tight. Trapped. Hunted. Zira's team fought their way deeper into the station, firing at every movement, every shadow. Blood splattered the walls. The beast moved like a phantom, faster than sight, smarter than any machine. It set traps, cut off power, turned their weapons against them. It wasn't just attacking, it was playing, and it was winning. Hours later, only a handful of soldiers remained. Syra, Lauren, 3 others, wounded, exhausted, terrified. They reached the station's command center, a wide room filled with broken screens and dead machines. There, standing in the center of the room waiting for them, was the beast, bigger than ever, wings folded like black knives, eyes glowing like twin suns. A smile, cruel, knowing, stretched across its face. It spoke for the first time. Its voice was deep, heavy with mockery. "You came to hunt," it said. It stepped forward. "Now you are the hunted." Lauren raised his rifle. The beast moved, one heartbeat. Lauren's head hit the floor before his body even realized it had been cut. The remaining soldiers opened fire in blind terror. The beast didn't even flinch. It tore through them like paper. Screams echoed off the walls. Blood splashed the screens. Syra stood alone, face to face with her worst nightmare. Her blade hissed as she drew it. The beast tilted its head, curious. "Fight," it whispered. "Fight and fall." Syra roared and charged. Blade met claw, strength against strength, pride against power. For a moment, she held her own, matching the creature's strikes, blocking its blows. But she knew. This was not a battle. She could win. This was a lesson. The beast had let her come here, had let her bring her army, to break them, to break her. In the final moments, as Syra fell to her knees, bleeding, broken, the beast leaned close. It spoke in a voice filled with dark joy. "You were never my hunter." It leaned closer, its breath hot against her ear. "You were my gift." Syra blacked out, and the beast turned its gaze upward, toward the stars, toward the rest of the galaxy. It was ready. The hunt had only just begun. Betrayal and blood, the stars above the ruined world burned cold and distant, silent witnesses to the death unfolding below. Princess Syra woke in darkness. Pain stabbed through her body with every breath. Her armor was cracked, blood seeping into the fabric beneath. The air smelled of rust and smoke. Slowly she lifted her head. She was alone. The beast was gone. Only the broken bodies of her soldiers remained, lying still in pools of shadow. And somewhere beyond the ruined station walls, the beast waited, watching, smiling. Syra staggered to her feet, clutching her broken sword. Her mind screamed for her to run. Her pride forced her to stand. She was a princess of the Velkai Empire. She would not die crawling. But even as she limped forward, she knew the truth. This was no longer her war. It was the beast's game now, and she was nothing but a piece on its board. Far above the planet, aboard the orbiting ships, panic spread like fire. Communications had gone silent. Strike teams had vanished. The Skyburner had failed. And now, a new horror appeared on the scanners. Ships drifting toward them. Ghost ships, once thought lost in ancient wars, now reactivated by some unknown force. Machines. Dead machines. Brought back to life. Answering the call of the beast. "What do we do?" The admiral shouted. Captains argued. Commanders screamed orders. Fleets moved into defensive formation. But deep in their hearts, every soldier knew they were not preparing for victory. They were preparing to die. Inside a secret human outpost hidden on a nearby moon, Commander Hale and Dr. Leah Vance watched the chaos unfold through hacked satellite feeds. The beast had grown stronger. It had taken control of old weapons, old ships, old stations. It was building an army out of dead things. "We have to stop it," Leah said, voice shaking. Hale stared at the screens, his face hard. "We can't stop it," he said. "But maybe we can survive it." Leah looked at him, confused. Then she saw it, a new signal flashing on their screens. An offer. Serve or fall. The beast wasn't just destroying. It was recruiting. It wanted slaves, followers, subjects. Hale clenched his fists. They had a choice. Fight and die, or serve and live. "What are you thinking?" Leah asked, fear in her voice. Hale said nothing, He was thinking about survival, at any cost, even betrayal. Back on the burning planet, Princess Zira stumbled through the dead corridors of the ruined station. She found a working radio unit, broken but repairable. With trembling hands, she sent a distress signal. "This is Princess Zira of the Velkai Empire. I need immediate extraction." Silence. Then a reply, but not from her people. A human voice crackled through the static. "Princess," the voice said, "we can save you, but there is a price." Zira's heart twisted. Humans, weak, cowardly, traitorous. But in this moment she had no choice. "What price?" she asked. The voice on the other end laughed softly. "You'll find out soon enough." The signal cut out. Zira slumped against the wall, closing her eyes. Betrayal was in the air, and she could smell her own blood on it. A few hours later, a small human shuttle landed near the ruined station. Soldiers in black armor stepped out, weapons ready. Hale led them. His face was cold, his eyes sharp. He found Zira lying near the entrance, barely conscious. "Get her up," Hale ordered. His men pulled her roughly to her feet. Zira's head spun. She opened her mouth to curse them, but Hale silenced her with a single glance. "Listen carefully, Princess," he said. "You're not a prisoner." She laughed bitterly. "Then what am I?" Hale leaned in close. "You're bait." Zira's heart stopped. Then the plan became clear. The humans were offering her to the beast. A gift, a trade, a distraction. Something to buy themselves time while they fled. She wasn't an ally. She wasn't even a trophy. She was a sacrifice. Rage boiled in her chest, but her body was too broken to fight. The humans dragged her onto the shuttle. Behind them, the ground rumbled. The beast was coming, and it was hungry. The shuttle lifted off, engines roaring against the pull of the broken world. Inside, Zira lay chained to the wall, glaring at Hale. "This will not save you," she hissed. Hale didn't answer, because deep down he knew she was right. They could run, they could hide, but the beast was patient, and it had already tasted power. It would hunt them across the stars if it had to, and it would find them. Because betrayal always leaves a scent, and blood always calls to blood. In the heart of the dead station, the beast watched the shuttle disappear into the clouds. It did not roar. It did not chase. It simply turned back to its machines, its ships, its new army. Soon, the humans would tear each other apart. The aliens would betray their own kind. Empires would fall. And when the time was right, the beast would rise. Not as a hunter, not as a destroyer, but as a king. And the galaxy would kneel, or burn. The consequences, stars were falling. Princess Zira watched from the cold window of the human shuttle as flaming wreckage streaked across the sky. Broken ships, shattered stations, burning satellites, all falling toward the ruined world below. The war was over. There was no victory, only consequences. Inside the shuttle, Commander Hale barked orders. "Set course for the outer rim," he said. "Anywhere but here." Soldiers rushed to obey. Zira sat chained to the wall, too tired to fight, too angry to speak. They thought they had escaped. They thought they had won. But she could still feel it, a deep, heavy presence pressing against her, mind like a mountain waiting to fall. The beast had not been fooled. It had allowed them to leave. It had wanted them to leave, because its plan was much bigger than a single world. It wanted the galaxy. And soon, it would have it. Hours passed. The shuttle drifted through space, running silent. No signals sent, no lights, only darkness. But the darkness was not empty. It was watching, waiting. At last, they reached a secret human base hidden inside an old asteroid belt. A place forgotten by most. A place safe. Or so they thought. The base opened its massive gates, letting the shuttle inside. Commander Hale stepped onto solid ground. His soldiers, close behind, they dragged Zira with them. Inside the base, the last survivors of humanity gathered. Scientists, soldiers, engineers. the last spark of a dying fire. "Report," Hale demanded. An officer approached, tablet in hand. "We lost contact with Mars," he said. "Saturn's colonies are silent, the frontier outposts, gone." Hale's jaw tightened. "What about the Velkai Empire?" he asked. Zira laughed bitterly. "Your empire falls just like mine," she said. "There are no empires anymore, only prey." The officer hesitated. "There is one more thing, sir," he said. He turned the tablet around. On the screen, a transmission played. Not words, not images, only a sound. A slow, steady heartbeat, deep, powerful, and growing louder every minute. They had heard it before. It was the sound of the beast's army moving, across worlds, across stars, unstoppable. Inside a high-security chamber, Hale and Zira faced each other. Alone. "We need to work together," Hale said. At last, Zira smiled, broken and cold. "Now you beg for alliance?" she said. "After you chained me? After you sold me like meat?" Hale looked away. He had made his choices soaked in blood and betrayal, but survival demanded it. "The beast is not a creature anymore," Hale said. "It's an empire." Zira's eyes narrowed. "No," she whispered. "It's a god. And gods do not forgive." Outside the asteroid base, the stars flickered. Ships approached. At first, they looked human. Familiar. Safe. But scanners showed the truth. They were hollow. Dead ships, puppets of the beast. Inside them, machines twisted into monsters, humans reshaped into something terrible, flesh and metal fused together. They had answered the beast's call. They had chosen to serve, and now they came for the rest. The alarm screamed through the base. "Battle stations," Hale shouted. Soldiers rushed to their posts, turrets activated, shields flared to life. But deep down, everyone knew this was not a battle they could win. It was only a matter of time. The first wave hit like a hammer. The dead ships smashed into the base's shields, tearing chunks from the walls. Monsters poured through the breaches. Claws, teeth, machines. Screams filled the corridors. The base became a slaughterhouse. Hale fought side by side with his soldiers, plasma rifle blazing. Zira broke free from her chains, grabbing a fallen blade. They fought together, human and alien. Enemies yesterday. Survivors, today. But it was not enough. The beast's army was endless. For every monster they killed, 2 more took its place. Hope burned away piece by piece. At the heart of the base, the survivors gathered for their last stand. Hale, Zira, Leah, a handful of broken, bloody soldiers. They sealed the doors, prepared their last charges, waited for the end. In the silence, Hale turned to Zira. "I'm sorry," he said, "for everything. For the betrayals, for the pride, for the failure." Zira smiled a small, sad smile. "So am I," she said. Then the walls shook, the doors buckled, and the beast entered. It had changed again, taller now, wings wider, eyes burning with cold fire. It stepped into the room, calm and slow. The survivors opened fire. The beast walked through the bullets like rain, unstoppable, invincible, inevitable. Hale raised his last grenade, ready to die fighting, but before he could throw it, the beast spoke, not with words, with thoughts. Enough. Though survivors froze, their minds filled with pressure, pain, terror. "You have fought well," the beast said, "but you were never meant to win." It looked at Hale, at Zira, at all of them. "You are strong," it said, "strong enough to kneel." And slowly, one by one, the survivors dropped their weapons, some by choice, some because their bodies betrayed them. Hale dropped the grenade. Zira dropped her sword. Tears ran down Leah's face as she knelt. The beast stepped closer. "You are not my enemies," it said. "You are my beginning." And with a sweep of its wings, the room filled with light. Not fire, not destruction, but a terrible, perfect silence. Hours later, the stars above the galaxy changed. A new signal broadcast across every system. A symbol. A clawed hand holding a broken chain. The old empires had fallen, the old kings had died, and now under the beast's shadow the galaxy was reborn, not free, not alive, but united, under one rule, one voice, one God. The hatchling had risen, the beast had conquered, the consequences had arrived, and there would be no mercy, ever again.